There are five things new managers do to lead their staff that you probably don't. And maybe that's why their team looks like they're having so much fun and yours probably isn't. Now, stay tuned because I've got a free offer for you, a complimentary offer for you, some more leadership information. But let's get into this topic and learn a little bit more about how we can support you as a new manager. So I'm excited to be with you here today. Another picture of me, but that's all right. But here are some ways you can contact me. Email, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook. You can find me a lot of different places. You can also get a guide, but I'll talk more about that later. But you just got promoted, or maybe not just recently, but you got promoted. Now what? What do you do next? How do we get things going? How do we turn our team around into something that's a little more better functioning, perhaps? Well, first of all, you have to understand company culture, build relationships and trust, prioritize, set expectations, and appreciate change is constant. So these are the five things, the five ideas, the five concepts we're going to talk about. I'm going to talk about today. How you like that for a graphic? So this may be what your team looks like. A little bit frustrated, a little bit struggling. You're the new manager. Maybe people you worked alongside, now that they report to you. So what can you do as a leader of this new group, as a new manager? Or maybe you started in a new organization, or maybe you've been there a long time and you want to change. But do you need proof that there are challenges in the workplace? Here's a couple statistics about new managers and what sort of formal training they have and haven't received. About wishing 87% of managers wish they had more training in their new role, before their new role. And 57% believe more managerial training would improve their performance. Some startling statistics. And even if you don't believe studies, maybe it's half wrong, it's still very meaningful statistics. So let's look at the number one, understand your company culture. The first thing you have to do, one of the first things you have to do as a new manager is understand your company's vision, their mission, their values, right? What are the aspirational goals? What's the vision of the company? Where do they want to be? What's the mission? What are they doing now? What do they do really well? What are they focusing on? And what are the values or the beliefs? Now, I think it's critically important for you to have your own values, particularly as a new manager, but what are the company values and how are you going to be living those in your new position? Team dynamics, critically important. Whether you're a basketball team, and I coach a lot of basketball, I've coached a lot of basketball in my life. I coach sixth graders. Well, now they're going to be seventh graders. But team dynamics are so critical. How is the team getting along? And there are problems, and there are problems in many organizations. But what are you going to do? And how are you going to better understand those team dynamics so that you can maybe turn the corner and get this team functioning and get better results, higher and stronger productivity? Engaging communication, that is one of the key points. You can see over my shoulder here is a chart called Speak Your Piece. And it talks about communication, the 9 different elements. I do some webinars and I do some workshops and I speak about that very concept. And while it seems simple, like communication, talking, no, it's more than talking, because people hear what they want to hear, regardless of whatever you say. So communication is so critical. And it's the foundation. It's so foundational to have other successes as a new manager, to make those steps to increase your team. And these all work together. They all work hand in hand. All right, let's look at the second of the 5 ideas. Build relationships and trust. Now, I am huge on this, relationships and trust. Hopefully, you're starting to know, like, and trust me, right? Whether this is your first video or multiple videos that you've seen of me. But that relationship, that trust is so critical. How do you do that as a new manager? Well, you start with one-on-one meetings. Sit down and talk with your people. Don't talk at them. Don't try to show them how much you know. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So show people that you care. Ask them, where do you want to be in 5 years? How can I help you get there? Do you still love coming into work? What are some of your aspirations? And really get to know people, really get to know who they are, not just what they are in terms of somebody who reports to you in the food chain. Have a genuine interest in them. During these meetings, really have a genuine interest. When you go by somebody in the hallway and you say, how are you? Well, listen, stop and listen. If you're going to ask the question, then listen to the answer, right? have a genuine interest. Maybe they have pets? Do they have children, grandchildren, spouses, partners, right? Find out more about who they are because they spend more time outside the work than they do inside the work. And no matter who you are, you bring your life into your workplace and vice versa. You bring your workplace into your life. So have that general interest in who your people are. Be authentic, be vulnerable, and create a communication environment. This word communication comes up all the time. And if you survey your employees, whether it's your own staff or whether it's a whole organization, communication is going to be one of those items that's going to pop up as being important or being a challenge in your workplace. So create that environment where communication is comfortable, where people feel they can share and they can bring forward conflicts, positive conflict, constructive conflict. But you have to build that foundational communication first, and you have to build that trust to be able to establish that. There's an exercise I take folks through that helps build trust on teams. There's a lot of things that you can do to build the trust. Oh, now it's time for the best deal. Only today. Well, not only today, but I do have a leadership document, seven greatest things that leaders avoid. I don't know, something like that, right? But it's a great guide. It's going to give you 7 tips on how to improve your leadership even more. So hopefully this piece is helping you, but take advantage. Click on the QR code. If you're on your phone watching this, it's at toddkukan.com/guide. So get on that right away. It's complimentary. Just plug in the information and you'll get that sent to your email. Let's get back to the list. Number 3, prioritize. Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, you have to assess what's going on. Now, even though you may have been part of the department or you know a lot about the company, if you're going to a new company, you still have to assess where things are. Look at strategic plans, whether it's for the organization or for your department. Figure out what pieces are there for you and your organization. And then how is your team doing on that? And when you have those one-on-one meetings with teams, have conversation with them about how are they doing towards the plan. Maybe you have to make some adjustments. We'll talk about that. What are the top priorities? So often, right? We have these long to-do lists and we never really think about what are the top things? What are the 1 or 2 or 3 must-do things in terms of priorities for your organization? And then schedule time in your calendar, not on a list. Schedule time in your calendar to focus on those top priorities, whether it's you or anybody else in your organization. I started doing that at the first of the year, and it's really helped me stay focused on the things that are important, my top priorities. I've got another list of 20 things that I've been keeping for a long time. And actually, I eventually start dropping things off. But you had to figure out what are your key priorities and stay focused on those. And that should match your strategic plan, whether it's, again, your departmental, your team strategic plan, your organizational strategic plan. And if you don't have a plan, let's get connected and figure that out. What is your strategic plan? There has to be some strategy, mission, vision, values, objectives, strategy, and then your action plan, and prioritize those things that are most important. All right, let's look at number 4, set expectations. We all like to have expectations. We have individual expectations, we have team expectations, organizational expectations. Hopefully you have organizations of yourself and with your family too, right? Inside and outside the organization, that list of things you have to do, but making sure that the team is clear on the expectations. Here's what we're trying to do. Here's why we're trying to do it. Here's how we're going to do it. And let's step forward and let's meet these expectations. Everybody has different responsibilities for the success of your organization, success of your team and department, success of themselves individually. We have to take responsibility, and that's an area of communication, right? You're responsible for what you say, your words are who you are, and you have responsibilities in terms of the strategic plan. So make sure you clearly and your team clearly understands those. And get in a feedback loop. When you have those one-on-one meetings, make sure you're sharing information. We used to have in one organization, we met an hour and a half once a week as a team, 52 weeks out of the year. Maybe 1 or 2 we took off. We found that what we were doing is just scheduling or talking about our calendars. So we decided to go every other week with the team meetings, and the other every other week we had one-on-one meetings. And in all those situations, that's where we had feedback. We had conversations about what was and what wasn't going well. What are the obstacles? What are the challenges that we're facing? What are the roadblocks? And how can we, either one-on-one with the individual or as a team, how can we fight through those? But without expectations and clear communication, we can't move forward. We can't achieve as a team. And the last one, I hate to say maybe one is more critical than the other, but appreciate that change is constant. And change varies in its strength, in its magnitude. We've had some great change over the course of my lifetime. We've had some great change in the last 5 years. We've had great change in the last year, right? But change is constant, so we know it's going to be there. So how are we going to address that change? What do we need to do? Well, first of all, you have to work with integrity, meaning do what you're supposed to do the right things, even when somebody isn't watching. It's a great one for kids too. But if you can do the right things, do the best things when nobody's watching, you have integrity, and that's going to help you, your team, your organization. Conflict. We have to be able to handle conflict. When there's change, there's going to be conflict. There's going to be tension. There's going to be people that say, well, we've always done it this way. Why do we have to change? Technology is coming in and out, right? Faster than we can keep up with it. AI, artificial intelligence, is changing on a daily basis. So there's change. How do we adapt it? How do we embrace it? And how do we have constructive and positive conflict, right? To embrace that change. But without communication and trust, it's tough to have that conflict. So as you're managing your new team, figure those things out and work with them. And then you have to have flexibility because of this change. Things will change, laws will change, rules will change, policies will change. The environment will change in terms of the work environment, right? The business environment, the industry climate changes, all sorts of different aspects of that. So we have to be flexible. But if we have integrity and can handle conflict, we can get through that and we can appreciate change. So hopefully this is what your team will end up looking like. Maybe even cheering you. Not a standing ovation yet, but cheering you because you got promoted and then you have to figure out, shoot, now what do I do? Right? So we talked about these five different areas. And, I'm a great fan of America's Got Talent. So this is Heidi Klum. And she's saying, is that it? Well, this is it for this lesson, for this webinar, but it's not it. There's so much more that needs to happen. But let's take it bits by bit as a new manager in terms of what you need to do. I hope you'll take advantage of getting my guide. I really appreciate you being on this call with me. Again, the QR code, you can find me on LinkedIn and Facebook. Reach out to me. You can get the guide at toddkukan.com/guide. You've got my email address there. There's no excuse, right, for figuring out what to do now that you've got that promotion, now that you've got that new job, whatever the case might be, and how you can improve your team, how you can advance your team and get the productivity and results that you and your team and your organization deserve. Have a great day.